Hello everyone, you are most welcome once again to this course unit. We are continuing to look at educational technology, and the course facilitator is still Dr. Mark Kahwa at Mountains of the Moon University in the Faculty of Education. So we are continuing to look at educational technology, and educational technology as a concept. There are two words in it. You have education and also you have technology. So we want to look at education. What is education? What is this concept called education? Of course, this is a concept that is very familiar with each and everybody. But of course, we cannot take it for granted that everybody knows what it is. So it is better to unpack it. And of course, education has been defined by different scholars in different ways. But in the context of this subject, we are saying that education is the process of facilitating learning or the process of acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, habits, attitudes, and so on and so forth. Now, we are saying the acquisition. It means that in order to know that somebody is educated, the person must have knowledge in something. For example, me, I'm a teacher. So I must have knowledge in my profession. I must have knowledge of the subjects where I'm specialized in. If you are a teacher of mathematics and physics, then you must have content knowledge in mathematics. You must have content knowledge in physics. You must have skills. But away from knowledge and skills, you must have values. What are those things that you so much cherish? For example, in your life, in your profession. Beliefs, habits, behavior, conduct. So, education will equip us with all those aspects of life. And that is what makes now the quality of life. A combination of knowledge, a combination of skills, a combination of values, a combination of attitudes, a combination of beliefs. That is what makes the quality of life. Now, educational methods include storytelling, discussion, teaching, training, and directed research. Now, in most regions, education is compulsory up to a certain age. For example, here in Uganda, education is compulsory for all school-age-going children, beginning from the age of 6. Although, because we have pre-primary, some learners begin at 3 years, beginning in bed class, in middle class, going to upper class. But the official age is 6 years when a learner is supposed to go to Form 1. So, for us here, education is compulsory. And that is why this government in 1997 thought of universal primary education, UPE, for all the children, the age-going children. All of them are supposed to go to school. Now, education is a gradual process which brings positive changes in human life and behavior. If you attain education and you don't have any positive change in life, then you have not attained education. That is why when somebody behaves in the contrary, people will always ask, to which school did this person go? Meaning that when you receive education, it is supposed to shape your behavior, shape your conduct, shape the way you do things. So, and we say education is the passage to progress. Passage to progress. It is additionally the way to our fate, as achievements can only be accomplished when individuals have information, aptitudes, and frame of mind. So therefore, education is very, very important. And that is why countries across the globe will always, focus, make heavy investments to make sure that there is effective provision, effective and efficient provision of education. Now, we look at the 4 revolutions in education. Education has evolved through different stages. Education has evolved through different steps. And we want to look at the 4 main evolutions through which education has, passed up to the current times. And of course, we look at this alongside the technologies. Now, Eric Ashby, who wrote in the 1967, gives those stages. The first one occurred when the task of educating the young was transferred or was shifted in part from parents to teachers and from the home to the school. So that was the very first revolution. Of course, we know that the very first socializing agent for a child is the home. And the teachers in the home are the parents. Parents, of course, for example, when we look at the African context, parents are not the only biological parents, but all immediate members of the family are regarded as parents. They could be uncles, they could be, siblings, they could be grandparents, and so on and so forth. So that is the first school, and those are the first teachers. So the first revolution occurred when there was that transfer. Because in the past, that was the only school where a learner would go. It is just the home. Before the introduction of modern education, when learners go to school. So with the introduction of the modern education, when learners go to school, so we call that the first revolution. That learning, teaching, or education is shifted from the home and from parents and is transferred to schools and then placed in the hands of teachers. So that is the very first revolution. The second came with the adoption of the written word as a tool of education. So in the first revolution, where we said that education shifted from home to school, initially in the home, it was just oral education. There was no writing, because at that time, people didn't know how to write, didn't know how to read. So now, with the shift now to the school, at the second revolution, at the second stage, we see now the introduction of the written word. Because now learners have learned how to read, they have learned how to write, so there is this introduction of the written word. So the third came with the invention of the printing press and books. So now, at the second one, there was written word. things could be written, lessons could be written. But now with the third, you can see there is a transition. We are not only stopping on writing, but we are able to print on paper, have a hard copy printed. So that is the invention with the printing press and book. So the fourth and last revolution, which is the current one now, is the advent of electronics and the development in communication. The introduction of the different digital tools, ranging from computers, ranging from projectors, printing machines, all of these electronics as we know them in the education sector. So this is what we call the fourth stage. So it has gone through those four stages. As you can see, if you note very well that right from the first stage, come to the second, the third, and the fourth, you can see there is advancement in the technology. Coming from the low-level technologies, going to high-tech technology. So those are the four revolutions. Now, as we continue, we now need to reflect on the different examples of electronics and technologies that are used in technology. We are talking about educational technology. And as we shall just be seeing later on, is that when we talk of educational technology, we mean the use of the different digital tools in the process of teaching and learning. So what are some of these digital tools? So I have given a list here, but of course this list is not exhaustive. There could be so many other technologies in the process of teaching and learning. We have tablets, we have iPads, we have laptops, we have personal computers, we have radio sets, smartphones, CDs, compact discs, earphones, routers, floppy disks, microphones, digital cameras, memory sticks, printers, projectors, television, electronic whiteboards, flipped learning, desktop, laptops, video conferencing. So all of those, of course, as I already said, that this list is not exhaustive. All of these digital tools as used in the process of teaching and learning are examples of the different electronics that are used in the process of teaching and learning. So some of these can be used alone, some of these can be used with a combination of the rest. For example, I have a laptop, but I can have content on a flash disk. Then I can maybe print out, I have a printer, but also I can project, I have a projector. So you can see, but also I can serve for information, maybe using my smartphone. So you can see that at times you can use, depending on what you are doing, between 2, 3, and even sometimes 5 electronic gadgets at a go. Now, what is technology? Of course, as I have already said, that educational technology comes from the two words. You have education at one hand, and then on the other hand, you have technology. But as you have seen, we have split them. We have, first of all, defined education, now we're defining technology, and then in the following presentation, now we shall look at a combination. When it is now educational technology, what is it? Of course, technology is the use of machines to achieve intended goals. And these digital machines, digital gadgets, of course, vary from from educational setting, from one educational setting to another. So depending on the level and also depending on what you are using them for. Technology is the way we apply scientific knowledge for practical purposes. It includes machines like computers, but also techniques and processes like the way we produce computer chips, and so on and so forth. So we are now taking a break, and when we come, we shall now go to look at the concept educational technology. So thank you so much. See you when